Hi, students. Welcome back to another social studies session. And today we will be looking at cultural heritage. Last class we looked at our ancestors, where they came from, the continents and the countries they came from, and why they came to Guyana. So today we will be looking at the cultural heritage of these six ethnic groups. What is cultural heritage? Well, cultural heritage is the beliefs, attitudes, behaviors of a group of people which are passed from generation to generation. So the cultural heritage of Guyanese people has derived from the beliefs and practices of the six ethnic groups of Guyana. Each ethnic group has made significant contributions towards the cultural heritage of Guyana by way of their foods, dress, and folk customs. So now we will get to see for each one of these ethnic groups what were the cultural contribution to Guyana. The Amerindians. So the Amerindians, as we know, they were the first people to come to Guyana. The name Guyana is an Amerindian word. They gave Guyana, our country, its name. And the name Guyana means land of many waters. The Amerindians contributed to the naming many of our creeks, rivers, and mountains. Also, in September, the month of September is set aside for us to celebrate our Amerindians. This is Amerindian Heritage Month, which is celebrated in September. The Amerindians, they have contributed foods to us, such as pepper pot, cassava bread, paiwari, farine, and so much more. You can ask your parents or even go do some research online and find out some other, foods that they have contributed to us in Guyana. The Amerindians also contributed different handcrafted items to Guyana. As we can see here, some of the handcraftings, and most of their handcrafted items are normally made from the TBC straws and so on. We can see right here the Amerindians celebrating on a cultural night, Amerindian Heritage Night. They're dancing, and we can see how they dress also for the different tribes and so on. This is one of their way of dressing, in the tribes and back then, so on. Right here we can see a picture of a cassava bread with some pepper pot right here. Yes, and I know we're in the season we're in the pepper pot season. So just know that when you eat your pepper pot, remember that the Amerindians were the ones who have contributed that to Guyana. The Europeans, as we know, they were the ones who started up the sugarcane industry. Before it was the sugarcane industry, it was the sugarcane plantations where they planted the sugarcanes and so on. So they brought in the slaves to help dig the canals and so on. So they contributed to the sugar industry that we have right now in Guyana. Canals were dug back in the days using slave labor. So the canals that we have are from a contribution of the Europeans. The polder system was introduced. Drainage, irrigation, and transportation were developed. Many landmarks are contributions of the Europeans. Many historical buildings like St. George's Cathedral, the Starbrook Market, even the lighthouse, and some other buildings, the High Court, they were contributions, all contributions, due to the Europeans. The Europeans, these buildings were there for significant purposes. The St. George's Cathedral is where, that's the church where they worship. That was one of their places of worship. The High Court, the court is where, justice is served, and so on and so forth. Many of our streets and places were have European names like Stabroek, Leboni, Intention, Georgetown. Like Stabroek is a Dutch word, along with Zeeburg and Nova Zealandia. Leboni, Intention, and Lepentier, these are French words. Georgetown and Queenstown are English words, all from the Europeans. These words, they are places around Guyana that have more, European names. Whether it be it Dutch, French, or English, these words were from the Europeans. Also, Guyana's official language, English, is a legacy of our English rulers. The religion, Christianity, was one of the slave masters, religion, and the Negroes, some of the Negroes, meaning the Africans, became converted and started to follow the Christianity religion and so on. So also the Europeans have contributed foods such as pies and pastries and so on to Guyana, to the cultural heritage of Guyana. The Europeans, their cultural heritage has a long lasting effect on Guyana, because still now we still, have these things. We have the landmarks, the landmarks, as we can see here: Fort Zeelandia, the 1744 landmark here, the St. George's Cathedral Church, and the Stabroek Market. We as long as you have been to Georgetown, you will see the Stabroek Market, as long as you're in that area. Right here we have a picture of a pie, one of the pies that the Europeans has contributed to Guyana's cultural heritage. So that's just a brief history on the cultural contributions of the Europeans. The Africans, we know the Africans to be the slaves. They were the slaves that were brought from West Africa, of the continent of Africa. African cultural practices are incorporated into the Guyanese tradition, such as the foods, the foods like konki, metiji, fufu, kuku, and cook-up rice, and so on. If you can ask your parents, go ask your parents some other questions about what other contributions towards the food the Africans has contributed to us. You can do research online, find some other foods. After you find more, you write them in your exercise books. As you find more foods and so on. They also contributed the kwekwe dance. The kwekwe dance which is performed on the eve of a wedding. Some persons still observe that cultural practice. Some clothing that are still being worn by Guyanese, like the dashiki gowns, some shirts and turbans. These are traditional dress wear from the Africans. Throwing of the box hand also. You may know this system. Your parents may have a system they are doing, throwing box hand. You may hear it around. This practice was brought about by the Africans. Africans contributed different art and craft to, the Guyanese culture. On the 1st of August is where we celebrate Emancipation Day. And Emancipation Day, if we remember from the last session, how Emancipation Day came about was in 1763, when the House Slave Coffee led the slave rebellion. The rebellion, they rebelled because of their living conditions. They protested. So the 1763 monument, which is a symbolism of Coffee, who led this rebellion in Berbice, and eventually they got their freedom from slavery. So the 1st of August is set aside as Emancipation Day, and this is one of the holidays the Africans have contributed. So you can go do some more research and find out, because many of the Afro-Guyanese are public servants, teachers, lawyers, doctors, and magistrates. So these are some of the cultural practices that the Africans has contributed to Guyana. The Portuguese. The Portuguese are now a minority group in Guyana. They have excelled in the field of business, but also did well in other economic enterprises and so on. They did not maintain much of their cultural identity because many of them intermarried with other ethnic groups and so on. But they have still, contributed to Guyana. The former politician and businessman, Mr. Peter de Gar, he was a Portuguese. Apart from just, businesses and being politicians and so on, Portuguese have contributed food to the Guyanese cultural heritage, such as garlic porks and, different types of pancakes and cakes and pastries also. Just like the Europeans, they also contributed their form of pastries and cakes and so on. Right here we can see a picture of the garlic pork. Then we have a type of pancake. This is a picture of Mr. Peter de Gar, former businessman and politician. Right here we have Portuguese businessmen in 1920s. They're posing there, and this is a picture of a Portuguese business back in those days. So these are some of the cultural contributions the Portuguese has contributed to our Guyanese heritage. The Chinese made a great contribution towards the economy of Guyana through establishments of shops, supermarkets, laundries, and more. The Chinese are very skillful in using chopsticks to eat their meals, and some of these meals are fried rice, chow mein, and lau mein, and others. So you can go find out some more foods that the Chinese have contributed to our Guyanese culture. Many of the gowns and dresses, these fashionable wears that women wear nowadays are Chinese gowns. They, some of the high collars and long skirts with slits. These are fashionable gowns that the Chinese. These are fashionable gowns that the Chinese has contributed to our Guyanese, dress wear. Many of the Chinese have become Christians and have adopted a Western lifestyle. In the year 1920, the Chinese Association was established to protest Chinese rights. The Chinese Association housed a sports room and dormitories for other Chinese visitors and so on. Their members were pure-blooded descendants of that ethnic group. So most of them did not really marry into other ethnic groups. Most of them remained with their Chinese ethnic group. The Chinese Association aimed to foster unity among all the Chinese. They provide regular meeting place for them. The Chinese Association provided regular meeting place for them to assist and protect their interests at all times. These Chinese are sports loving people. Some of their sports included lawn tennis, cricket, hockey, karate, and other outdoor and indoor games. Chinese in Guyana are known for their outstanding contribution in a variety of fields. Mr. Arthur Chung was the president of Guyana from the years 1970 to 1980. Also, Ray Luck is regarded as Guyana's gifted international pianist. Yes, so here we can see some pictures. Here we can see some pictures of, the Chinese contribution. This picture right here is a picture of our first president, Mr. Arthur Chung. And right here we have our international concert pianist, Mr. Ray Locke. And we can see here a Chinese celebration. There they have the dragon dance and their wear and so on. And right here we can see a plate of chow mein, Chinese chow mein, that they have contributed to Guyana. So these are some of the cultural practices / contributions that the Chinese has contributed to Guyana. The East Indians. The East Indians, from their arrival as immigrants until this present day, the East Indians have made great contributions towards the economic development of Guyana. They have made a great contribution in our agricultural sector. In agriculture, they were responsible for the development of the rice industry. Cash crop production is also another area of their economic operations. The fishing and shrimping industry attracted many workers. From their cattle rearing, they were able to derive an income from selling meat as well as milk. In the social development of Guyana, the East Indians have made great inroads. Gorgeous saris worn by their women displayed the traditional East Indian dress. The construction of a number of temples and mosques bear witness to their vibrant religious practices in Hinduism, Islam, and so on. East Indians have done well in the field of sports such as cricket. Many of our national holidays are traditional East Indian festivals, such as Pagwa, Idul Adha, Yom Nabi, Diwali, and Indian Arrival Day. They have also contributed to our Guyanese cuisine, our food. They have contributed foods such as curry, dal puri, dal and rice, and mithais and so on. So you can go find out from your parents what other foods they have contributed to our Guyanese culture. So this has brought us to the end of today's session of the cultural heritage of the ethnic groups of Guyana. You are free to pause the video and take notes if you were not in the Google Classrooms, you did not get to get any notes or so on. You can pause the video and take notes of these cultural contributions the ethnic groups has contributed to Guyana. So for homework, you're going to list two more foods that they have contributed, these ethnic groups has contributed to our Guyanese cultural heritage. And when you're finished, you're going to flash your picture and send it to me on WhatsApp, or you can send it on the Google Classroom and you will get your grade there. Thank you for listening to me once again. Have a blessed day.